Do you remember that song, that old Elvis song? Wise men say only fools rush in. What is it that you think keeps us from jumping in? What is it that keeps us from jumping in and doing the things that we're supposed to do? Keeps us from jumping in and doing the things that we're called to do? Keeps us from jumping in and doing what our communities and our families need us to do? My name is Ed Trevors. I'm an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I get to serve in the beautiful town of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, in the awesome parish of Church Shelburne that sits on the ancestral and the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Today I am filming from the banks of the Miramichi. I'm in a place called Gordon's Wharf, and this is vacation reflection number 3. When I was younger, this would have been almost 15 years ago, I talked to my dad one day, and I remember we were driving across the Centennial Bridge, which I'm hoping to film tomorrow's video in front of. But we were driving across the Centennial Bridge, and I said, "Dad, I think I'm called to ministry. I think I'm supposed to be a priest." And I was half expecting my father to tell me that I'm crazy, that I'm nuts, that I'll starve to death, or any other numerous things that a father may say to their son when they're not entirely certain of their decisions. And my father's reaction was incredibly positive. As a matter of fact, it was so positive that he wanted to know if I was going to be starting that September. I told him that, well, geez, I got a lot of stuff that I got to wrap up. There's some ends that I have to tie off, and I'd have to move back to Canada, and I'd have to apply for school, and I'd have to get funding, and I'd have to quit my job, and I gave him a laundry list of reasons why I couldn't do it right away. And he reminded me that when God told Moses to build the ark, he didn't tell Moses to build it when he had time. He didn't tell Moses to build the ark when he felt he was ready. He didn't tell him to build the ark when he got around to it. He said, "Build the ark, the rain is coming." And Noah jumped in. He jumped in to the extent that the people around him, the members of his community, thought he was nuts. I'm not talking about jumping in without preparation. I'm not talking about jumping in without a sense of discernment or a sense of wisdom. I'm not talking about jumping in and taking risks that are unfounded. I'm talking about jumping in and taking those chances on projects or taking those chances on opportunities that we know are the right thing for us to do. So what is it that stops us from doing that stuff? I would suspect, and I think the research backs it up, the fear of doing something new, the fear of doing something different, the fear of doing something risky comes from our fear of failure. And our fear of failure, I think boils down to our fear of death. I think failure for us is a form of death. It's a form of the death of our ego. We fear the death of our ego. We fear the death of our character. We fear the death of our reputation. We fear the death of our way of life. And ultimately, those fears to us, well, we treat them the same way we would treat our natural death, our physical death. We try to avoid it. We do everything possible to avoid it. And if we're doing everything possible to avoid failure, we are never, ever going to take the risks and the chances that we need to take. We're never going to jump in and get to work on the projects, on the tasks, on the missions that we need to take in order for us to actually live. Now, this is true whether that we're talking about the church, which is wildly guilty of doing this kind of thing. We love maintaining what is. We love maintaining our status quo. We love maintaining our buildings and our ways of service and celebration. We do not ever want to change that stuff because we are desperately afraid of the death of what was. We're desperately afraid that if we do something different, it will fail. It's also true in our personal lives. It's true whether you're a person of faith or whether you're a person who doesn't hold a faith. We're desperately afraid of failure. We're desperately afraid to try something new. We are desperately afraid to jump in. So, what do we say about that is, if God is with me, who can be against me? I will never leave you or forsake you. I will always be with you through the end of time. One of my favorite lines is what he says to Joshua. I will be with you always. Like I was with Moses, I will be with you. What are we afraid of? We believe, what is it that can possibly harm us? May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you. May you know the peace of being in God's presence, and may you know the exhilaration of taking a chance and jumping in and doing what needs to be done. Amen. Go!